Hello. On today's show, we're talking to the people in charge of volunteers who help Philadelphia firefighters and police officers when things get tough, when handling building fires or working massive city events. Find out to see if this is a calling for you to volunteer on this edition of Protecting Our Community. Hello, and welcome to Protecting Our Community. I'm your host, Brian Coyle. Our goal is to improve your quality of living by giving you the knowledge of the agencies and organizations that are here to help you. We will provide speakers from local, state, and federal agencies, as well as community leaders, providing you with useful information to help protect yourself and your community. On today's show, we have members of the Philadelphia Second Alarmers. These are the men and women who volunteer their time and provide aid and refreshments to our first responders when disaster strikes. We have with us Chief Greg Massey and Lieutenant Malik Williams here to inform you about the Second Alarmers and how to be a part of this dedicated group. Chief Massey and Lieutenant Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having us.
So Chief, tell me, how long have you been with the Second Alarmers?
Brian, I actually joined the Second Alarmers in 1997.
1997. And what made you want to join the Second Alarmers?
Well, back in my early part of my life, I was always into volunteering. I was kind of stressed by my parents, give back to the community. So I had met some individuals who were at the Second Alarmers back in the 90s, said you should try it and we think you would like it. And sure enough, I joined and here I am now in 2018 still with the Second Alarmers.
Well, that's wonderful. So, Chief, I know that the Second Alarmers has a mission statement. Could you read that to the viewers?
Sure. The Second Alarmers Association and Rescue Squad of Philadelphia, incorporated as a totally volunteer organization, provides emergency disaster support services at the highest quality level. Its primary service area is the city of Philadelphia and other locations where needed. Working in cooperation with emergency services charged with protecting the lives and properties of the area, the Second Alarmers provide rest and rehabilitation, emergency medical services and supplies, wide area lighting, and emergency power supply as needed. The provision of the highest quality emergency rest and rehabilitation services lies at the heart of the history and purpose of the association, while other activities provide a natural supplement to the development of the comprehensive membership mission. The organization maximizes the talents of its volunteer force and continually locates and develops opportunities to serve which stimulate continued interest and additional membership. Financial resources limited solely to contributions are managed to provide the greatest return to those served and to represent and establish a nationwide quality standard.
Okay, that's a pretty good mission statement. A lot.
Yep,
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, we've been in service since 1921, so we're actually in our 97th year of service to the city of Philadelphia. So the mission statement kind of encompasses exactly what we've been doing for the last almost century now.
Okay. Lieutenant Williams, I have a question for you. How long have you been involved with Second Alarmers?
I started in November of 2013.
2013. And why did you join?
Honestly, it was one day in the summertime. I was looking for some type of community service to do, and I came across the organization, and I thought to myself, this seems to be interesting. I called, and they set up an interview. I came up on a Saturday, and I talked to the chief, and he explained everything and asked me, does this seem like it would be a good fit for me? And I said, yeah, and been doing it ever since.
That's great, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Chief, can you go into a little bit more about the history about the Second Alarmers?
Sure. I mean, when you look at the history of it, in 1921, it really was just a group of citizens. They were actually at a fire on the waterfront, and it was a very, very cold night, and they decided, we have to provide. They saw the firefighters and police officers, the inclement weather they were in this situation. So they basically got in their car and picked up refreshments and took it back to the fire scene, and hence, that's how the Second Alarmers started. I mean, their primary purpose is really to make sure that all of our responders, police, firefighters, and any other city employees are at an event, we take care of them, providing a nutritional supplement and any supplies they may need to accomplish their mission at that particular event.
All right, that's great. Can you explain more about the responsibilities of the second alarmers, with the members themselves?
Sure. I mean, you have to understand that volunteerism is not what it was years ago. I think there's more activities today that people are involved in. Of course, they're working sometimes multiple jobs. They have children to take care of. So it's hard trying to find a volunteer to fit in some of their time for a volunteer service, because the difference between us and another organization, we never know when we get called upon. It may be on a weekend, it may be in the middle of the night, it could be on a holiday, and trying to find a volunteer that's available at that time, that's kind of like the hardest thing that we tell them when you come in. Whatever time you can give us, we appreciate it, but you never know when you're going to be away from your family doing some sort of volunteer service with the fire or police department, or both.
So if we have members or viewers that are interested in volunteering, can you explain what they will be doing and some of the equipment they'll be using to assist at your functions? Right.
Well, the important thing is that anybody who wants to volunteer, the only thing they have to bring is a dedicated spirit, dedicated heart. As far as the equipment, our station's located up in East Falls on Roberts Avenue. We have 4 apparatus. They look just like fire trucks, but they carry supplies that we're going to be needing on the incident scene. Of course, our mainstay is to make sure that on a day like today, where it's warm out, that all of our responders are properly hydrated. You'd be surprised how many of our responders, because they're not drinking enough, they will have medical issues at the scene. So we're going to teach them what to serve them, when to serve them, and then in addition, we'll provide the food supplements, because at long scenes, they may be out there for hours and hours, and you got to make sure that, we call it, their gas tank is filled so they can continue to operate. Right. And then in addition, depending on the time of the day, if it's a cold day, we have portable heaters that we're going to set up. So we show them how to operate that, how to operate the generators.
So we have some pictures here of some of your equipment. Can you explain some of the
stuff?
Sure,
absolutely. You'll see there that on very cold days, we're going to set up these portable heaters outside, because what happens, especially at a fire scene, firefighters, police officers, they're going to get wet from a spray of some sort.
I'm sure.
So we're going to make sure that they're able to go over to our vehicle where we're set up at, and we're going to provide what we call creature comforts. The heat, warm gloves. We actually carry socks. Sometimes you'd be surprised how many times they get their feet wet. So we're going to give them these, again, creature comforts to make their job a little bit easier to do at a fire ground. On warm days, it's the other way around. We want to make sure their body core temperature is kept cool. So we're going to provide those cool drinks. We have our own mixture of Gatorade, which we call bug juice or green champagne. We'll set up misting fans, cold towels. You'd be surprised that little bit that we're going to do will prevent a medical emergency where they have to make a trip to the hospital.
Okay, well, that's good. I see here we have like a mobile sink, and what would you use that for?
Okay, this is for large-scale operations. To give you an example, everybody remembers Hurricane Sandy.
Yes.
Well, when Hurricane Sandy happened, of course, northern New Jersey took the bulk of the impact of the storm. They actually reached out to the city of Philadelphia and asked could they provide medical support and rehabilitation. They asked us would we respond up there with the fire department and the EMS branch. We did. It was supposed to have been a 3-day stay. We went up staying a week. And these were all volunteers. They didn't get any sort of pay. They actually lost time from their work, but they wanted to go up there and volunteer, and we actually had to set up a mobile sink because we were tasked with feeding 300 responders 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
So when they came back from the scene, there was really no place for them to wash up. We set up mobile sinks because they can get themselves cleaned up before they would actually eat dinner or breakfast or lunch.
Well, we really have some dedicated people in the Philadelphia community. What other type of events are you involved with? I noticed we had something with the Philadelphia Airport. You did an exercise drill?
Yes, yeah. The airport every year has a mandatory drill. It's every 3 years. It's called an EPEX drill to test the readiness of the fire department and the police department in an emergency event. Again, and it's not just Philadelphia, but it's also Delaware County because the airport resides in both Philadelphia and Delaware County. So we have multiple agencies that are involved, and we're there again providing that rehab, doing breakfast and also lunch, and all that nutritional support for all the responders. So the EPEX drill happens, every 3 years, but we get involved in so many other different events. I mean, let's face it, we had our Super Bowl championship. Well, that was a large law enforcement presence on Broad Street. we had to take care of a lot of police officers in a long period of day. So we were out there all day on Broad Street, on the Parkway, those type of events, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, Welcome America, Made in America. We're always tasked to provide that type of service where there's going to be a large presence of first responders.
So Chief, that is a lot of equipment and a lot of, it sounds like a lot of food, fuel, support for the vehicles. Who provides all this stuff?
Believe it or not, Brian, without the generosity of the police officers and firefighters that donate money to the Second Alarmers through payroll deduction or one-time contributions, we couldn't exist. We do get some support from the city of Philadelphia as far as fuel, but the Second Alarmers have been self-serving our respondents for 97 years, and we really just get by with the contributions that we get from our responders. We do get a lot of in-kind donations from various businesses. One of the biggest things we use is bottled water. So we'll get water donated to us, food products that we're able to serve. But for the most part, if it wasn't for our responders, the Second Alarmers would cease to exist.
Wow, that's amazing what you guys do. Lieutenant, now you've been involved for quite a while. So what kind of details have you been involved, or what would you say was the roughest detail you encountered?
The roughest detail that I've encountered since being with the Second Alarm was probably maybe like Made in America, Welcome to America, all those details. You know, with large-scale details, it's very hard for us to, you know, service the greater good of, you know, police and fire, because you have all the streets blocked off and you got to take the crowds into considerations and things of that nature. So any large-scale detail is you're always tasked with a little bit more difficulty in doing the full-scale service.
So Made in America, you have long, hot days.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sure all the fire personnel and police personnel appreciate your efforts and your dedication that you provide to them. And I'm sure the public, because without the police or fire, if they're not on their game, they can't help the public.
Yeah.
So thanks to you, you're able to assist. So we're going to take a short break, but when we return shortly, more on the Second Alarmers Association. Stay with us.
Exposure to blue light can mess with your sleep and memory cycle, so make sure you limit your screen time at least 2 hours before you go to bed.
According to the Mayo Clinic, exercising has stress-busting benefits by bumping up your endorphins and improving your mood.
Welcome back to Protecting Our Community. I'm your host, Brian Coyle. I've been talking with Chief Greg Massey and Lieutenant Malik Williams from the Philadelphia Second Alarmers. From my own experience observing the Second Alarmers, they are dedicated people who work in all types of weather and conditions. They're a blessing to our first responders on the front lines. Chief, can you tell us about some of the conditions that the people have to endure?
Sure. I mean, we just got through one of the hottest summers. Just in the month of July alone, because of the Welcome America festivities, we were busy with a lot of fires in the summer, which usually does happen. We actually served over 12,000 bottles of fluid to our first responders just in the month of July.
12,000?
12,000 just in the month of July. We average, in 2017, we were roughly close to 38,000 bottles. This year, we anticipate getting close to it or maybe a little bit more. As a matter of fact, our runs are up much, much higher than ever before. It's very important that on a hot day that our run is very crucial to get there as quickly as we can to make sure that we have everything we need to cool them down, get them fluid to hydrate their body. Otherwise, we have seen many occasions, even on parade lines, where some of our officers, because they're wearing their ballistic vest and they're not drinking enough fluid, they'll pass out from the heat. So it's our job to make sure that we have all the product we're going to need. So hot days always is a challenge for the Second Alarmers. And then when we get into the cold winters, same thing again. People can still be hydrated during cold weather, and also we have to be concerned with frostbite issues. So that's why we carry the portable heaters. We make sure we have hand warmers. New Year's Day, we always pass out a lot of hand warmers to our officers, make sure to have them in their gloves. We provide our hot soup, things of that, again, we call it creature comforts, just to make their job a little bit easier out there on these long events.
So earlier in the show, you mentioned something about bug juice.
Yes.
And I'm sure the viewers are wondering, like, what is bug juice?
Well, bug juice is what it is. It's really a lime extract with a little vanilla. It's got some electrolytes in it. We looked back in our history. It started back in the 30s, middle 30s, and this is before all the power drinks and the Gatorades came about. And we've been serving it for all these years. So a number of years ago, we tried to go to another product, kind of like a Gatorade power drink, and the firefighters and police officers said, no, we want the bug juice back. And the bug juice is really, it looks green. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a little funny story. One day we were out on fire, it was a hot day, and some of the neighborhood children saw the police officers and firefighters drinking our bug juice, and it's a bright green color. They said, look at that, they're drinking antifreeze. And I said, well, they overheat too, the firemen, so that's why they're drinking it. So everybody who tastes it for the first time, they kind of fall in love with it. And we go through a lot of bug juice, or sometimes they call it green champagne.
Wow. So we had some pictures of some of the members and the activities that they're conducting during their details. Can you explain some of the pictures?
Sure.
And explain about, to our viewers, the dedication and what type of people you have working underneath you, volunteering their time.
Okay.
That are part of the Second Alarmers.
Sure. I mean, here we are now, we're in a detail laser. This is actually the City of Philadelphia's tree lighting ceremony. We're actually down there, and the city actually hires us to provide our hot chocolate, which we kind of think is the best out there, to the actual people that are coming for the tree lighting ceremony. So we have, of course, a law enforcement presence, a fire department presence, and EMS. So this is a photograph where our first responders want to come and they want to kind of like thank us for what we do, and this was a snapshot of one of those events last year. Again, this was the Army-Navy game a few years ago, and we actually had some snow falling. So, you know, what better day for our responders to come back? We had, you know, some hot dogs and some hot soup, and the snow started falling. It was actually, it looked like a Christmas card photo. So again, one of our photographers snapped it. So again, Army-Navy games, another big event, a long day for the Second Alarmers. This was actually a great snapshot of the Super Bowl parade. It was, we had 4 of our trucks on the street early in the morning till late at night and serving all of our responders, and that was a large police presence. And you can imagine the city erupted in cheer because the Eagles did win the Super Bowl, but we were actually involved the night before because we had a lot of police presence at various locations out there. We knew they were going to celebrate, so our members were putting in many, many hours from the night before and day. And of course, one of our members here, even our police mounted horses, they said, what could they get from the Second Alarmers? Well, you'd be surprised. We carry stainless steel pails and we put water in there for the horses. So we got to take care of our 4-legged friends also.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's good. Again, you'll see in the and we always are out there trying to come up with a creative way to provide something for our officers. And it wasn't until a few years ago when some of our police officers, firefighters, when they're out there on long days, guess what? They're going to suffer the same things we would suffer if we were chapped lips, sore throats. So we carry lip balm, we carry cough drops, packets of tissues, things to make their job a bit. Anything that we could find in their house, we try to do it. This is a great shot because how do we survive? We always try to recruit other members. These were two of basically neighborhood children stopped in our station, and they were just fascinated by the second alarmers equipment, and we kind of put their gear on them, and they were just tickled pink, and we said, listen, come back in a few years, and we'll be glad to bring you one as members. And that's how we start out. We just try to recruit within our own community. People really don't know. They see our trucks. They think it's part of the fire department. And no, it's a volunteer organization. Anybody who has some time to give and they want to come and join, they can feel free to stop by our station, follow us on our Facebook page, or call the station, and we'll be glad to bring them in for an interview. And I think they all are a little bit intimidated. They think, wow, we could never do this. But no, everybody comes in with no training. We do in-house training, and if you have time to give and a big heart, that's all we need.
So tell me about a little bit more about the qualification, about like age. Do they need any special training prior?
No, I mean, we have a junior program that starts at age 16. And then, of course, once you become of adult age, we ask them to have a driver's license because we're going to be training them how to drive our vehicles because we have to get them to the scene. Of course, we hoping that we're going to get an individual that has a good background where we have no incidents in the past, could be arrest or whatever, that could be detrimental to their career. And once they come on board, we're just basically going to do a lot of in-house training with them, and they'll be out there with experienced people at incident scenes. Could be an emergency scene. It could be a specialized detail, as we talked about, the New Year's Day parade, which everybody has a lot of fun at. And we're going to show them exactly what the responders are going to get from us and what we get back from them. And what we get back from our responders is smiles, handshakes, and pats on the back. And I think that's what's rewarding about what we do. I think people look at volunteerism, what do I get out of it? It's what you get out of it is what you put into it. And you'll be surprised. We have the biggest family out there. I always said our extended family is the police officers and firefighters of this great city.
Okay. Lieutenant Williams, can you comment on that about what's like the membership like?
Currently, we have members as young as 16 all the way to age range in the 60s. You're never too young, you're never too old. If you want to volunteer, we accept all people.
Yep, we have, and our members in general, they come from all backgrounds. We have police officers. We actually have architects. We have people that are nurses, that are EMTs. We actually, years ago, we had a member that was a doctor. He's since moved on. So everybody has, I always say, different skill sets that we can use to mold into our operation, and they bring fresh ideas, which is great.
That's good. Hours. How many hours? Is there a required number of hours that they must
Yes,
volunteer?
we actually, since we're a very busy organization, we're going to surpass 500 runs this year. We asked for a minimum of 300 hours per year, which seems like a lot, but it's really not a lot. You may go on a detail, and you might do 8-9 hours in 1 week on a detail. So 300 hours is a minimum, unless they come up with, they have a work schedule that prevents them. But what's good about our organization, they don't have to make runs or incidents. They can come to the station. We have a lot of station duties, and they come to the station. It's like being in a firehouse. So that counts as time. That's all counted towards their, accumulation for our commitment.
Lieutenant, can you explain about the uniforms? Are they required to buy their uniforms, or are they provided?
The members buy their own uniforms. We go to various uniform stores that the city deal with as well, and our uniforms replicate the fire department. Typically on a run, you wear a job shirt or a jacket or whatever, pants, boots, things of that nature.
Okay.
And Brian, to add on to what Lieutenant Williams said, we have another program. Believe it or not, a lot of firefighters recently have been retiring, and what they have been doing, they've been donating a lot of their clothing that is still usable to the second alarmers. So if some of our members are coming in, we said before you buy anything, we have a cache of uniforms. See if it works, fine, and it's less they have to buy.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So Chief, I know for a fact, knowing you personally, you just retired from the Philadelphia Police Department not too long ago. Can you explain how many years you put into the...
Yeah, Brian, it was doesn't seem that long, but I guess last July in 2017, I retired with 40 years of service with the Philadelphia Police Department. And there's a matter of fact, there's you and I together, and that happy moment. And it was a great career. And how I did my career in the second alarmers at the same time kind of baffles me at days. But I really enjoyed my 40 years in the police department. What I miss the most is the people that I worked with over that 40-year span. I've met a lot of great people, networked with some fabulous people. Matter of fact, Brian, I have to give kudos to you because you're involved with the Police Explorers, and without meeting you many, many times, your Explorer group has helped us out immensely on some large details. And if I didn't meet you, it would have put more of a stress on our resources. So I got to give you a lot of thanks for what we've accomplished just by the association you and I met through the police department.
Well, we're happy to help you. And it's a privilege.
Yep.
So if you're interested in becoming a Philadelphia Second Alarmer member, please check out their Facebook page or call 215-223-1936. I would like to thank our guests, Chief Craig Massey and Lieutenant Malik Williams, for joining us today, and you, the viewers, for tuning in and being part of the solution with protecting our community. So until next time, remember, protecting our community is everyone's business. Keep those eyes and ears open.